I'm the Vice President of Sales for Signworld. And I'm going to, first of all, let you know our agenda for the day. What we do request is that everyone put yourselves on mute. If you could mute yourself, and then when I call on you and it's your turn to talk, then you can unmute yourself. But we would like everyone, if you could mute yourself the entire time. I will introduce our panel in a second. Jack Werner, our president, will give us some definition. I'm going to show a very short slideshow, and then we are going to open it up for questions. We will go in the order of the users that are signed on the right-hand side. Okay. Let me start with that. Helen McKinstry. Helen, give us a wave. Helen is a Signworld owner in Austin, Texas. Helen, how many years have you been in business now?
We opened our doors years ago this June.
I'm sorry, I missed that with the background noise, sir.
We opened our doors 2 years ago this month.
2 years ago, great. And square feet are you in, Helen?
We're in just under 1,800 square feet.
Okay, and how many employees are you up to now?
We have 3.
Okay, and what's your sales goal for this year?
This year we set a goal of 500,000.
Okay, very good, very good. Larry Foster, Troy, Michigan. Larry, how many years have you been a Signworld?
18 years.
18 years. And how many square feet are you in now, Larry?
8,000 square feet.
8,000. How many employees are you up to?
I've got 12.
12 employees. And what's your sales goal for this year?
1.7 million.
1.7 million. Okay. And has Scott Keene joined us yet? Scott, are you there? Okay, let's introduce Jack Werner. Jack, give us a wave. Jack started out as a Signworld owner. Jack, give us your short story.
I started in 1,200 square feet with one employee. I ended up at 5,000 feet with a staff of 11, doing 1.3 million in sales before the days of the internet. I then sold my operation to go into process to buy out Signworld from Ken, our founder and former president. He and I have been working together now 24 years. Ken has stayed on as our director of sales. And so when I answer questions today, if it relates more to my experience running a Signworld operation, I'll answer from that perspective. If it goes more towards policy and corporate questions, I'll answer from that perspective. Everybody on the call, if you can mute yourself, if you don't have a *6, do whatever you need to do to mute the background noise. We appreciate. When it's time to ask a question, unmute yourself, and then go back on mute so we can keep the background noise to a minute.
Okay. Well, Jack, you want to give us a couple of definitions?
I can. Please don't confuse us with printers. Printers do the commodity items, the brochures, business cards, letterheads, envelopes, the things that you print and put in a box. Because of desktop publishing, because of e-reading and the internet, being able to shop online, it's an industry that's stagnant. Don't confuse us with that. Well, we're doing graphics as well. We're doing the custom graphics. Small as a postage stamp to the entire side of a building, unusual shapes and sizes, dimensions. But it's the application after printing it, screwing it to the post, gluing it to the wall, sticking it in the ground, putting it on the vehicle. You can't order that on the internet. You can research it, you can find possible suppliers, but it has to be negotiated and work from there. So the internet's our best friend for finding customers. But the margins of the sign business is totally different than the print business. industry that's still growing. The other comment I want to make is Signworld's not a franchise. We're set up as an owner's alliance rather than that. A franchise is appropriate if the industry is dominated by big name players for mass advertising, control of the product, but this is custom manufactured with small core of repeatable customers. So the name brand, the rule book, and the mass advertising don't apply. So having it as an owner's alliance, we have some advantages a franchisee doesn't have for control and not paying royalties. So a lot of people will tell you they joined Signworld because of that. We respect the fact that we're in unusual situations. If you don't like Signworld, you're going to have to go to a franchise. We don't have any. There are no other operations out there like us that give ongoing support without a royalty. Ken, your first slide is up, but Scott Teen is also on. Come on camera. Why don't you go ahead and give the slideshow first, and then when you bring Scott back online, he can introduce himself and tell you his story.
Okay. As Jack said, we are Signworld business partners. We are not a franchise. We are a business owners alliance. We are friends. We are family. We're full-service sign companies. We're going to teach you all about both indoor and outdoor signs. We charge no royalties. It's a one-time buy. We have no rules. Starts with the name. Name yourself whatever you want to name yourself. This is manufacturing. You are manufacturing a tangible product and giving it to your customer. 98% of all the signs in the world are indoors. The average life is a month. Most of them are made out of throwaway materials. In December, they all say Christmas and Happy Holidays. In January, half off. Right now, they say Father's Day. Last month, they said Mother's Day. That's where the money is at. Being in the sign business is having customers who have to change their signs all the time. You start with yourself and one employee. This is an experienced sign maker. We will help you find them. We will interview them. We will test them. And once you hire them, you can send them to all of our training programs. No extra charge. This is a one-location business. When you outgrow your space, you just move a mile down the road. It's business to business. Your customers are all the other businesses in town. No matter how small, no matter how big. Your hours posted on your door are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Your customers do not expect you to be there at night and on the weekends. 80% of your gross annual sales will come from your top 20 customers. This is a relationship business. You will get to know these top 20 customers very, very well. Total investment all in, $210,000. That includes $30,000 of working capital in your account to see you through the early months should you need extra money. Signworld's been in business 31 years now, since 1988, and we have never had any form of legal action. We are very, very proud of that track record. We have never been sued by anyone. We've never sued anyone. We've never been to mediation arbitration. That has to tell you something about how the way we run our business and how we take care of our 340 Signworld locations around the United States and Canada. You're going to receive outstanding support, not only from corporate staff, but again, our 340 owners, we're family, we're friends. We work on projects together and share the profit. We share employees, share supply, other talk story. We have Signworld owners go on vacation. What sets Signworld apart? Again, we have no rules. We charge no royalties. We will give you weekly sales training. And if you follow the program, 50 to 90% of your new business from the internet. That means you're not out, you're not chasing customers. The customers are calling you and asking you to help them out. Owners do not make signs. You'll be taught how to make them. You'll always know how to make them. But your job is to run the business. Your job is to take care of the customer. We are the commercial sign company. We are not, and I repeat, we are not these retail sign stores that you see in the shopping centers, the strip malls, or out on the main street. Those are walk-in retail stores where you stand in line and wait to have someone take care of you at a counter. As a commercial sign company, you will be located in the light industrial area, the business park, the kind of a building where you walk in the front door to the offices and you go around the back of the building to the giant roll-up garage door. You will have little to no zero walk-in traffic. Instead, you as the owner will go out every day on 2 or 3 appointments. Some of our locations, customers, the biggest and the best. There's a myth out there. People think signs come from headquarters. That's not entirely true. In many, many cases, headquarters sends out an email with the graphics and the specifications and the color codes. And those individual locations just forward that email to the sign company down the street, which could be you. We have Signworld owners who work with every one of these companies that you see on the screen right now. None of them at corporate headquarters. None of them at the regional level. District manager level, yes. And the individual location in their own backyard, yes. Where do we see signs today that we never saw them when we were kids? Board graphics are becoming more and more popular. Wall graphics change every week. Notice the date. More wall graphics. LED signs, lightweight, battery operated, easy to move the entire sign, easy to change the graphics. Outdoor signs, trade show signage, post-it note. The bed is a giant post-it note. Peel it off, take it, put it up on the other side of the building. More outdoor signage, real estate signage, indoor high-quality canvas prints. Vehicle graphics can be 20-25% of your business. Very profitable. 20 Disneyland buses, they change them every 6 months. Airplanes, no problem. It's a fun business, ladies and gentlemen. Every project is different. Every day is different. That's what keeps you going. Come ride the Discovery Day bus. We do a Discovery Day once a month. It's always on a Friday at our headquarters in Orange County, California. We all get on the bus and we go and visit 4 different locations. And throughout the day, you'll meet a whole bunch of Signworld owners. You can ask them any questions you want. You'll see their facilities. You'll talk to their employees. You'll even make signs yourself. Okay. So let's start with the questions. And Hugo, you're up first. Go ahead, Jack. Oh, yes. Let's introduce Scott King. Scott, give us a wave. All right. Scott King is in, tell us where you are, Scott.
Menominee Falls, Wisconsin.
And how many years have you been in business?
Coming up on the completion of 5 years.
5 years. And how many square feet are you in now?
2,400 square.
And how many employees are you up to?
Was up to 9, now I'm down to 5.
Okay. And what's your projected gross sales for this year?
1.2 million.
1.2 million. Right. Very good. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to open it up to questions now. We're going to go in the order of the users on the right-hand side of the screen. So, Hugo, you'll be up first, followed by Larry Bilski and Carlo after that. We like to go in a round-robin fashion, so please just ask one question, one-part question, and then each one of the Signworld owners will answer your question. You'll get 4 answers to every one of your questions. Then we'll move on to the next person, and when we're all done, we'll come back around again. But trust me, we do this all the time. By the end of the hour, maybe an hour and 5 minutes, we'll have everyone's questions answered. Okay, so Hugo, come off of mute, please. Say hello.
And Skip, you go to Larry. He typed in, he said he didn't have a question yet.
Yeah, I don't have a question yet. Thank you.
Okay. Larry Bilski. Larry, come off of mute.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Larry.
Okay, in your initial getting the franchise and training and even the past experience, what would you say that you were lacking when you went into business on your own, and if you weren't lacking any of this challenge?
Okay, so Helen McKinstry, when you started this whole thing, what were you lacking, or what was your biggest challenge?
So what I was lacking was any understanding of the sign industry. However, that didn't slow me down because the access to my sign maker, I hired an experienced sign maker, and the access to the business owners network was everything I needed. So you just have to, you just have to go for it. You just have to recognize you're surrounded by the expertise, and that didn't slow us down.
Okay. Larry Foster, if you can remember 18 years ago, what were you lacking, or what was your biggest challenge?
I think it is exactly what Helen said. You lack industry-specific knowledge that you would like to have. It's something that you gain very quickly, but when you first start, you don't have that confidence. And the second part of that question was kind of the biggest challenge, and I think early it's finding those customers that continuously come back and you get their business every week or every month. Just finding those customers is a challenge.
Scott Keene, 5 years ago, what were you lacking? What was your biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge I had was the one thing that you'll learn very forward with this is that we teach regularly is that you hire to needs, not today's needs, but needs that are coming. And fire. Okay, somebody starts presenting a problem, you need to take steps. My biggest error there was I gave a few people too long. I carried people too long.
Okay. And Werner, when you started, what were you lacking?
I don't think anybody comes to Signworld having sign experience. Helen, what was your background before Signworld?
I was in the computer and IT industry. I was an executive for IBM for 30 years.
And Larry?
Did computers.
I came out of retail.
Scott?
Regional director, AT&T.
I came out of a wholesale food distribution business. There's nobody in Signworld that has a sign experience. So the training takes care of that, hiring a sign maker, reaching into the network of other owners. They're all willing to help you get it figured out. Somebody helps them, and it's that payback. Biggest challenge is getting customers at the beginning, and long term it's managing all the projects and keeping the staff. It's fun business.
Okay. Carlo Lombardi, come off of mute, say hello.
Yes. Now you already answered to the main question I had, which was the main challenge when you started. That was the real operational and also psychological challenge that you have to face at the startup. That is the main question I have right now.
Carlo, I'm not sure I understood your question, or did you say you do not have a question now?
No, I don't. I mean, you answered already. So.
Okay. All right. Great. Dan Sperling. I'm sorry. Dan Sperling. Come off of mute, Dan. Say hello.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. Just FYI, I'm in the Detroit, Michigan area, so Larry, we're practically neighbors. I'm in the relatively early stages of my investigation of franchises and business ownership, and one of the things that scares me most is bootstrapping, getting up and going. So my question at this point is right to the point of how long would you say it took you to become cash flow positive in the startup of the business?
Okay. Helen McKinstry, how many months did it take you to break even cash on cash?
It took about 12 months, but I also made a decision to hire a second person as an operations manager on day one because of my goals that I had set myself for personally, family, work-life balance. So it took me a little longer than some others.
Okay. How many months from the time you broke even to the time you took your first paycheck?
I was taking my first paycheck before I broke even.
Okay. Got it. Larry Foster, how many months did it take you to break even cash on cash?
4 months.
And how many months did it take you to before you took a paycheck?
In the 5th month.
Jack Werner, how many months did it take you to break even cash on cash?
Get Scott first.
Scott, how many months did it take you to break even cash on cash?
6 months cash on cash, 9 months to the first paycheck because I ended up taking on a couple of accounts that were looking for extended payment terms.
Okay. And Jack?
I was cash positive month 1, first paycheck month 6. Average in Signworld is 5 months to cash positive.
Okay. And Robert Shively, come off the mute, Robert.
Yes, Shively. Thank you. My question might be similar to some of the others, although maybe slightly different. And that is, you mentioned what your plans were currently. And so if you go back to the beginning again, just kind of take the first 3 years, how did your plans compare to actual? So, because I've seen a lot of plans, but I haven't seen how the actuals stack up against the plan by year.
Helen McKinstry, 2 years in business. How does your year 1 and year 2 actuals compare to your original plan?
So my year 1 was just 6 months, and that was a little lower than my plan, but my year 2 was pretty healthy and met, if didn't exceed my plan.
Okay, thank you. Larry Foster, how was year 1, year 2 according to your plan?
They were fairly close. The first year we did just over $250,000. The second year we did $350,000, and the third year we did $400,000. So it was close to our plan.
Scott Key?
We had created 2 performas, one running through the standard numbers, and then with my sales background, I had actually created a stretch line of revenue expectations, and I had actually, my first year, I exceeded those stretch goals by 22%.
Jack Warner?
I did 430 my first year, 580 my second, 780 my third.
Michael Leonard, come off the mute, say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Go ahead.
I'm new to this. I'm exploring franchisee or ownership opportunities. I don't have any questions at this point.
Thank you, Michael. Bill Giordano. Bill, come off the mute, say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Go ahead.
It's a good thing I had a bunch of questions because a lot of the questions you sort of answered. But now I'd like to ask you this question to everybody. Can you explain and walk me through the training process and what is involved and how long did it take you to you feel comfortable? The whole training piece. That's really where I want to go.
All right. you want to start out and outline what the training all includes right now in the beginning?
Sure. There's 5 weeks of the training before you open, which is enough to make you functional. There's a lifetime of training after that. There's 2 weeks of training in our training center in California. 1 week devoted to technical training, learning how the equipment operates, a week of business training. You'll then go back to your home office and spend about 40 hours learning the business management software. You'll do on-the-job training, working at 7 different locations for a day apiece. We'll then have a technician come out and spend 3 days on site once you hire your sign maker, collectively 5 weeks. From there, you're going to go into a onboarding class. All the pre-opening owners are in a webinar every week, making sure you're getting through the Gantt chart of things you need to do. You're joining our 2-year sales and marketing coaching program where you're on camera with about 15 fellow students every Monday for the first 2 years, going to class at least 100 times. Stay longer if you want. There's no get out of here. You'll start off in Ken's class, the beginning 101 class, and you graduate to my advanced class for the 2nd year. You join a mastermind group where 6 to 8 owners are on a webinar every week discussing operational issues. As Helen mentioned earlier, there's a blog site where owners post questions daily, other owners chiming in within minutes to answer questions. We have a full calendar of webinars that go on for the rest of your life. Some on suppliers, some on technical, some on equipment, some on traditional marketing, some on internet marketing, some on pricing. And we have a whole list of all the different niches of business with webinars taught on all those different niches. This goes on for the rest of your life. We have a large convention every spring where this year we hosted 37 training sessions over a several-day period, our large trade show there. We've got a mentor program where after your first year in business, you can engage with a senior Signworld owner as a mentor to help you really kick it in high gear. The staff is available for the rest of your life, but a lot of the ongoing training is done through the peer network where the owners are all consulting with each other. We're a family where we all talk.
Okay, Helen McKinstry, how was the initial training?
Oh, I found it really helpful. I mean, I took advantage of the things that Jack talked about. There's a lot of upfront training and then ongoing, those weekly opportunities to engage with the Signworld crew as well as your mastermind group and ongoing webinars, and then just continuously being able to reach out to. I still leverage the forum, being able to put questions out there to other owners, and then being able to respond back with my own answers to questions other people put in. So it's worked pretty effectively. I think the owner network is the golden nugget here.
Thank you, Helen. 18 years in business, Larry Foster, 18 years. You still go to training?
I do. Besides the different webinars that come on that I will sit in on, the annual training that we have in Vegas or wherever it happens to be that year is just phenomenal. The vendors put on great shows, good presentations. You see the latest and the greatest of the equipment, and I go to it every year.
Scott Keene, tell us about the training.
The initial training was really, really good. I will say this much: you got to make sure you're very heavily caffeinated for the color management theory portion. A little bit. We'll call it a little dry, but it did all very, very important stuff, and it really gave me a good base to launch the business from.
Okay. Jack, you want to start a slideshow?
Yes, I've got 3 slideshows that I'm going to show while we're talking. There's no audio to them, so we'll go on with questions during it. The first one just shows you some of the facilities, inside and outside, so you can see how different they are. The second slideshow shows you what we can make in-house with our own equipment to begin with and what we're going to need to outsource to begin with. The third part of that is showing you some unusual things that you wouldn't consider a sign. The third slideshow shows some of our wall of fame, showing you some of the projects Signworld owners have done. This isn't doing lots of little stuff. It's doing bigger projects as complex and unique as you can and desire. So Ken, go ahead and continue with questions.
Okay, and once again, if you could mute yourselves, we'd appreciate it. And then remember to unmute yourself when it's your turn to ask a question. Michael Clements, come off of mute, say hello.
Hi all, good afternoon everyone. No questions. No questions for me at this time. Currently sitting at my employer's desk, so just going to continue to watch. Thank you for your time and info today.
Okay. Mike Montandon. Mike, are you there? Come off mute. Say hello.
I am here, but I'm going to follow that same suit. The questions I had have already been answered, and I'm looking forward to the rest of them.
Okay. Dave Clements. Dave Clements, come off of mute. Say hello.
Hi, can you hear me at all?
We can hear you fine, Dave. Go ahead.
Great. Okay. If we were going to do something with Signworld, we'd be really interested in scaling the business rapidly. And when I say scale, I mean $2-3 million annual revenue. Maybe you could just share the percentage of Signworld businesses that get to that number or more, and the challenges of scaling, whether that be staff or client acquisition or retention or whatever. Just we're not particularly interested in a small business scenario doing $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year.
Jack Warner, current president and owner of Signworld. Do you want to address the first question, or who gets to $2 million plus?
Sure. We have a number of owners that are in that range, getting to that range. I would call it the top 10, 15%. It's a bell curve of life. I think the first thing you got to ask yourself before you ask for the gross number is looking for the net number. There's a lot of businesses you've got to go to $2-3 million a year because they're at an 8-10% net profit, where this is on average a 25% net profit business. So to $2 million, you're talking $800,000 net profit range, $500,000, and many people don't need or want that. I think it's more of a self-imposed ceiling than it is anything else. We've got a lot of owners that are in the $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 net income number, and they're content with that. To scale it up is really not a function of the market. The market is plenty big enough. It's more a matter of how big do I want it? How many employees do I want? How big of a facility? How many projects do I want to have go through? Larry, you've been at it for 18 years. You're mature in the business. You play golf how many days a week?
I play golf 3 days a week.
Could you grow it bigger if you wanted?
I absolutely could, but I'm very comfortable with where I'm at, content with where I'm at.
Scott Keane, you're getting to those numbers, and where do you see yourself several years from now in growing the business?
Well, to be quite honest with you, in January I announced to my staff that my intention is by the end of the year that I'm only going to be working 4 days a week, and that within 5 years I will be down to 2 days a week. Could I go larger? I most definitely could. The biggest hurdle right now is going to be staffing. In southeastern Wisconsin, we were below 2% in unemployment, so that seems to be the challenge to scale up. But again, as Jack said, it's more about the net number, not so much the gross number.
Helen, your thoughts?
So it's pretty much parallel. Of course, I'm earlier in that cycle than the other two gentlemen here, but my goal is to grow my business to between a $2 to $3 million business over the next number of years, and to eventually, I don't have any interest in growing it larger than that. And my goal is to get back to the point where I've got more time, where I'm spending with family and friends. I want to grow a self-sustainable business that hits those targets, and no interest in growing larger than that.
The last comment I'd like to make, Ken, is that our largest operation did $34 million in sales last year. The business is as scalable as you want it.
We have had resales in excess of $3 million single unit. Last year alone, we had 2 resales right around $2 million each. George Wright. George, are you there? Come off from mute and say hello.
I am here. Thank you. Good afternoon, or possibly good morning, depending on where you're located. I guess maybe the question is, especially early on on the first 3 months, 12 months. I guess how much does not offering the complete line of services hurt you? So you can do flat signs, vinyl signs, car wraps, but then you can get into the electrical and big stuff. So early on, obviously, skill sets are lower. I guess how much does not offering that full suite off the bat really hurt?
This is Ken. I'll start out by saying we teach you to subcontract, and we have 75 suppliers who are ready, willing, and able to help you on those projects that you cannot do, that either they're too big for you right now or you don't have the right equipment. Helen, what percent of your business do you manufacture in-house? What percent do you sub out?
So we do right now about 60% subbed out, vended out fabrication, and we do some vended out installation where we need the bucket truck, and the rest of it we do in-house. And there are some jobs, quite frankly, that are a combination of the two, where an individual sign uses some of our in-house materials and labor, and some of the parts of the sign we vend out.
Larry Foster, 18 years in business. How did that go over time? What percent in the first year did you manufacture in-house? What percent did you sub out? And then how did those numbers change? And where are you at 18 years later?
Okay. Well, when we started, the jobs were typically smaller, and we did about 75% of them in-house, and it was a lot of banners. It was simple graphics that went on store windows and doors, vehicle graphics, things like that. And then as you grow, your the customer base gets bigger. You do the bigger jobs. We do about 85% of our business in-house now. And it took some additional equipment, but it also just took the expertise to bring it in-house. But we're at about 85, even probably closer to 90% now in-house.
Okay, Scott King, 5 years in business. What was it like year one? What's it like today? In-house manufacturing versus subcontract?
We started off, we were over 90% in-house. And as of today, we're probably running 40 to 45 in-house.
40 to 45 in-house and 55% subcontract.
Correct.
Okay. Jack Werner, your thoughts?
I was about a 75-25 split to begin with. Taking on bigger projects, I ended up at about 50-50. I then brought in some embellishment equipment and ended up with about 90% in-house and 10% subcontracted. Some Signworld owners want more equipment. Some don't, and will continue to outsource to begin with. But your very first project could be something that you outsource to one of the fabricators we have on our roster. You're not limited to just the equipment and what you make in-house. It's a matter of how you want to market the business and projects you want to go after, how you're best suited to handle things.
Okay. Ladies first, Gwen Snow. Gwen, come off from you. Say hello.
Hi, I'm here with my husband, and we came up with a question together, which I'll let him ask.
So, this is Michael. Thank you. The question we have is, how do you protect the culture that you want to establish when you're new to the business, but you're bringing on a journeyman production worker? They have their own designs and their own thoughts, but I'd be interested to see your thoughts or hear your thoughts.
Could you maybe restate that question, Michael, one more time? I'm not sure I caught it.
Okay, let me, I apologize for that. How do you protect the culture that you want to have in your shop when you're new to the business and you're depending on journeyman labor to complete the projects?
So I think I can take that, Ken. Yeah, so the way I'm understanding the question, the culture of your business is less about the hard skills and a whole lot more about soft skills. So, for example, the culture of my business is all about open and honesty with one another as employees, about work ethic, about focus on quality, integrity, about being responsive to our clients. And I didn't need to know diddly squat about making signs or electrical or craftsmanship in order to really focus on building that culture for my business.
Larry Foster?
I totally agree with Helen. It isn't something that you have to have that knowledge. It's what you bring to the business. People look up to you. It's the way you handle yourself. It's the way you handle them. It's the way you handle your customers. And Helen brought up the quality standards and the way that you respond to customer needs. Those are the things that establish the culture that you want in your business.
Scott King?
Thank you.
And also, too, remember, when you bring in your first person, there really isn't going to be a culture already established. It's going to be for you to establish that culture with that first person. And, to be honest with you, by gently but properly guiding your person, okay, all of a sudden it's like, hey, we start at 8 o'clock, and the person starts showing up at 5:15. Well, you turn around and look past that for a while, it's going to become part of the culture. So it is something that you need to nourish it. You need to constantly and regularly, guide and correct to make sure that you create that culture first.
Okay. Jack?
I think it's been answered well. The other comment I'd make to it is that I've lost my train of thought there for a second. It's the attitude you bring to the business. It's hiring carefully. Part of the thing that you're doing as well is joining an organization where you're talking to other Signworld owners and you're following the best practices. You're not in your own little world by yourself, and the world is what it is. When you can see others in class, hear what they're doing, learning how they're nurturing their staff, their employees, that also helps you build a culture, but building it to your way.
Okay. Costas, come off the mute, say hello.
Yes, hello. My question is basically from the point that somebody made the decision how difficult it was to bring the first customer in, and what kind of marketing or sales kind of capabilities people are having for that.
Okay, Helen McKinstry, from the time you signed the contract till the time you had your first order, was that before or after you opened?
My first 2 or 3 orders were before I opened.
Okay. And how did you handle that?
So I reached out when I needed expertise on how to respond to the request for an estimate. I reached out to the network. And when I needed to have something fabricated, there were some local sign businesses that I had already started to establish relationships with to get it fabricated and to get it delivered to the customer.
How did you, marketing-wise, how did you jumpstart your business, Helen?
So you want to get your website up and going as soon as possible, and you want to start on doing some organic, search engine optimization. They talk to you about that a lot during training, so you'll get some guidance there. And you can also choose to do some paid advertising, through things like pay per click, and then networking, right? So while you're getting your business up and running, you should be actively networking in your area. You should be joining chambers of commerce, business networking, international BNI groups. So you want to be actively networking, as the guys have mentioned. A combination of your networking and your internet advertising and your website. That's what's going to really get your name out there, your business out there.
Larry Foster, 18 years in business, Troy, Michigan. Larry, did you have orders before you even opened up?
We did. We were able to, actually the types of orders that we got, we were able to handle. There was the banners that you get in early, and we had some vehicles that we needed to do, and I had the person that I hired was experienced enough to do that.
Okay. And how did you jumpstart your business marketing-wise?
It was a little bit different when I started. We didn't have the internet, but no question, today that's the most important vehicle, getting your website up and running as quickly and as efficiently as you can. We did a lot of networking, same things that Helen said, the Chamber of Commerce, BNI, the Rotary, things like that.
Scott Key, did you have orders before you opened up?
Yeah, I did. I had been producing a number of orders prior to signing the paperwork, actually, with one of the local Signworld guys here in town. And then, as a matter of fact, I believe I was in training when I signed my first set of channel letters.
And how did you jumpstart your business marketing-wise?
It was networking. It was... I actually went into a couple business parks and just kind of went out and introduced myself and, knocked on a bunch of doors.
Okay, Matthew Perry. Matthew, you want to come off of mute?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I had a question. When you're first getting your business going, and like most of us don't have background in the signs as we've established, when you go into those first businesses, give me some scenarios on how you talk to these people and how you sell them on your product when you yourself are a novice and a beginner at signs and how to build them. Like, what are some of the selling points, or how do you go about selling your business when you're learning what the product is yourself?
Jack, why don't you start out and give us the example of the television sales?
By the time you go to your first customer, you've already gone through 5 weeks worth of training, and you've had sales training during that 3-month period. When you're meeting with customers who already have a need, and so you're just finding out what their needs are. You're asking them how big a sign they might want, how long they want it to last, where they want it to go, how long you have to work on the project. And your answer to them is, let me go back to my office, let me calculate time materials, I'll get back to you with a proposal. You walk out of the office, you go, how am I going to do that? But know that on my way back to my office, I have over 300 sign rollers I can call, and they're willing to help. I have 75 suppliers. I have the corporate staff. When you get back to your office, and your sign maker is going to ask you, why'd you talk to anybody else? I made that 100 times already. So the answers are out there. You just got to know where to get the answers. You know more than the customer knows. So you're on fact finding and going from there. Helen, is that pretty much what you did on your first appointment?
Yeah, that sounds like you pretty much nailed it, Jack. So you just to kind of repeat and rephrase, you spend time asking them what their needs are. Don't think you have to spend time walking and telling them how you're going to specify it, right? You want to talk about, is this an inside sign or an outdoor sign? Do you need to be it's seen at night? Do you have certain size parameters? I mean, just ask them about their needs. What kind of time frame do you need this done in? So try to spend that time finding out. And by the way, customers love it when you're listening to them more than talking to them. And then, yes, on my way back to the office, I was frantically reaching out and trying to figure out what the heck a raceway was. But when you're talking to the client, you don't need to be thinking you have to walk in with your dictionary of information. You're wanting to understand what it is they're looking for. And then you can go get people to help you fill in the blanks.
Larry Foster, 18 years in business. Do you still drive home from an appointment and say, how in the heck am I going to do that?
I absolutely do. And I find the help that I need. I think it's a great question, because I can remember when I first started, that first big call that I had to go with an electric sign, I was scared to death. I was afraid they were going to ask, what is it made of? How thick is the metal? Tell me about the electrical. How do you install it? And I don't have any of those answers. I brought my sign maker with me who was experienced, and I found out very quickly the customer knows a lot less than I did, and it didn't ask any technical questions. All they said is they want a sign for their building. And you go back and you design it, you give them quotes, and you move on. But the sales call is actually the most fun part of this job. It's fun going out to see customers.
Scott Key?
I have to mirror everything that George just said. It's exactly correct. You know, the fun part of this job is really going out and meeting with customers. And you know, the real rush is that first one, because like you said, there is a little bit of fear. Oh no, they're going to ask me a question that I don't know the answer to. You know, the first thing you learn is that you don't try to make stuff up. You just look them square in the face and go, oh, that's a good question. You know, I'm going to go back to the office, I'll do some research, and let me get back to you on that.
Okay.
Ken,
just to finish that comment, you know, when you went to Best Buy the last time and bought a computer, the salesman knew more than you did, and you respected him for his knowledge. When you came up with a question, you stumped him, what did he say? Let me ask my boss in the back, I'll get back to you. So it's exactly what Scott just said. As long as you know enough to ask the questions, you're good.
Clever Santos, come off of mute. Clever, say hello. Hello, Clever. Are you there? Todd Luthart, are you there, Todd? Come off of mute, say hello.
Yes, I am. Yes. Good morning.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. My question is more around, so there are other Signworld locations in my area. So how do you go about finding a location for a new customer who wants to open up a Signworld in the same state city? Is it zip codes, or how does it work?
Jack Werner?
Well, first go to the maps and see where we've already committed territories to others. Help you find a building in a zip code that's not claimed by somebody else. Go to U.S. Census data, determine how many businesses are in that zip code, and then cluster zip codes around you until we get to 3,000 businesses. In a metro area, you're looking at probably 3, 4, 5, 6 zip codes. It's a section of the city. You're going to get different Google searches. You're probably joining a different chamber, networking group, Rotary Club, running in different social circles. So Signworld owners in some cities are right next to each other, and yet they're best friends because we're not out after everybody. You can only handle your small handful of customers. Larry, do you have other Signworld owners around you? How does that work, having neighboring Signworld?
I do. There's, 5 or 6 other Signworlds right around me, and we very, very seldom cross paths. And if we do, we don't even know about it because the customer doesn't tell us who else they're talking to. But no, we really don't compete against one another. We have our own customers.
Alan, how many other Signworld owners are in Metro Austin now?
Losing track, maybe about 5. And again, we rarely, we do a whole lot more collaborating with one another to help each other out than we ever do running into each other competitively.
Scott King, how close is the nearest Signworld owner to you?
Chad is probably 15 minutes from my back door.
Wow, okay. And you compete or collaborate?
Collaborate more than anything.
Okay. Okay, Ryan Rosenberg. Are you there, Ryan? Come off the mute.
Yep, I'm here. Nice to hear everyone. So I have a quick question. You talked about gross versus net. And my question is, what is the most important thing to maintain that 25% net versus gross? Like, what are your number one factors in keeping your costs down?
Helen, number one factor in keeping your costs down?
Boy, that's interesting. So you want to make sure you're using your employees productively, and you want to, you're hiring a little ahead, right, of the need, because you want to make sure you've got that capacity. So, and then I also keep a close eye on my insurance, my rent, my marketing. Those are probably my biggest overhead items. So, your lease space, like I said, your insurance. Be smart about how you're using your marketing programs. Those are the things I look at.
Larry Foster.
Well, for me, the expense side's easy. I don't know if that's my background, but I don't have any problems controlling the expenses. For me, the bigger challenge is the gross margin, and you have to be careful. You don't want to undersell yourself. You sell a very, very, very good product. You stand above the others, and we're proud of that. And we can get a large margin out of our sales. Scott Key?
I'm gonna say the same thing Larry just said, is that the very bottom line is the expense side seems to be the easy part. Your insurance, well, okay, that's contracted for the next 12 months. Your lease, probably the next 3 years. So your fixed expenses should be exactly that, fixed. Where you really can make the difference is in the gross. My top 3 customers do not ask for pricing when they give me a project. They send me the specs, I send them proofs, they come back, they go, okay, when are we going to be able to get it done? We don't even talk price.
Jack Warner, your thoughts?
The segment of the business that Signworld tries to focus on is the corporate customer rather than the consumer customer. Somebody is spending company money, not their own. Because of that, they're more concerned with getting it done right on schedule, so they did their job, made them look good to their boss. The customer's just negotiating, we're really not interested in them. So number one factor is making sure you're charging full. Don't even take on a project unless you're sure that there's enough contribution to the bottom line that you want to have. Take on the customers that are going to give you the net margins that you have and pass on the other ones.
Ryan, I'll answer your question in 2 short answers. Number 1, don't leave any money on the table at the time of the sale. And number 2, productivity. The more you can get out of your employees in productivity, the least amount of mistakes, the higher your profit margin will be.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
thank you.
Lorraine Sanchez. Lorraine, come off the mute, say hello.
Hi, this is Lorraine. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My question is about employees and how do you pay them, retain them? Can you kind of talk to me about your employee structure?
Okay, Alan, start out. Who was your first employee? How did you find them?
So I had first 2 employees. One was my sign maker. I found him by advertising on Craigslist and Indeed. Interviewed a whole bunch. Hired the one that was most qualified. He is still with me. My other employee that I hired at the same time is my operations manager. I was planning on hiring her later in my game plan, but I found the right person and didn't want to let that opportunity go by, so I hired her day 1. And how do I retain them? We really do focus on culture, right? So we focus on making sure everybody understands, because if everybody is on board with a culture and enjoys and is happy working in that environment, that does a lot for retaining your employees. I also make sure that I show them where I appreciate them. I listen, and we have part of our culture is being open and honest with one another in a constructive way. So I think we have a pretty positive culture that helps retain them. And again, I think some of those same culture points are things that you're listening for as you're interviewing people.
Larry Foster, 18 years in business. Larry, is it true you still have, 18 years later, your very, very first employee?
I do.
Tell us more.
Well, I do have my first employee, my general manager, and then my sign maker, we hired through a state website. There wasn't Indeed and a lot of hiring practices like that. Now it would be done through Indeed or maybe through some of the vendors helping us. But the thing about our industry is, and again, I came out of retail where it was very high turnover. This is the opposite end of the spectrum. It's very low turnover. People come to you, this is what they do for a living. This is a career. And they don't come in and leave in a week. I have employees that have been with me from the beginning. I've got somebody with 15 years. Right now, my lowest tenured employee is about a year and a half.
Okay. Thanks, Larry. Scott Key, tell us about employees.
Up until last week, my first hire, my production manager, was still with me. it is about building culture. It's about building a support system so that they know that, you're not going to throw them under the bus, that you're going to turn around and have their back on things, but then also that they have the responsibility to warrant that type of trust. But it's one of those things you got to go first. And, it's culture. If people feel good about coming to work in the morning, they're going to do so, and they're going to do so with a much different attitude. If you're a taskmaster, it probably won't work too terribly well.
It's 9 o'clock.
Okay, Jack Werner, do you have a comment?
I knew my employees' birthdays, their spouse's birthday. I knew when the kids had functions at school and they were allowed to get to them with pay. I took pictures of projects they did. I thanked them for what they did. We worked together. They didn't work for me. They worked with me. And it's your chance to hire a small team and treat them like family.
Okay, to my Signworld panel, we're running out of time. Short answers, please. Short answers. John Holland, come off of mute. John, say hello.
Hello, John Holland. Yeah, I don't have any questions. Everything's been answered for me, so thank you very much.
Okay, Craig Watterson. Craig, come off of mute. Say hello.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to ask a question about your larger customers, the recurring repeat customers, and just to give us some examples of what types of businesses those are and what type of products you supply them with.
Okay, Larry Foster, tell us about two of your top dogs. What's your gross sales to them per year? Go ahead, Larry. Give us two.
Yeah, Larry. My largest ongoing customer is a chain of automotive junkyards called Pick and Pull. They are found throughout the United States and Canada. We do about $185,000 a year with Pick and Pull. My second largest customer is a franchise of a fitness place called Crunch Fitness. And last year we did about $162,000, I think, with them last year.
Larry, how often does Pick and Pull order?
Pick and Pull every day. I get orders from them every day. We make the orders, we pack them, and ship them out.
Scott Keene, 5 years in business. Tell us about your top two customers.
Top customer is headquartered in France. And we are creating and printing and installing locker wrap systems for their freight and shipping locker systems. Second largest is out of Canada, and we did about $190,000 with them last year. And again, it was more of the same basic thing as a wrap for a locker system.
How did you find these customers?
They found me on the internet.
All right. Helen McKinstry, tell us about your top two customers.
So my top customer is a property manager. They maintain business properties all around the Austin area. And so the types of work that we do for them range from, banners they're hanging up on their apartment complexes, saying apartments for lease, to, large pylon and pole sign maintenance and refurbishing. And we've probably done in the last about $30,000 to $40,000 worth of business with them. Our second largest customer also is a landlord and property manager. So our largest business has been through landlords and property managers. No, by the way, there's a knock-on effect in that they have now been referring us regularly to their tenants, who are a little bit more one-off customers, but I got a regular steady stream of tenants from their properties coming through our shop.
Jack Warner, when you were in business, who were your top two customers? How much money did you do?
My largest customer was a chain of retail. It opened up about 12 to 15 stores per year at $20,000 per location, so $250,000 to $300,000 a year. Second one was a regional developer for Subway with 200 locations, and I did about $250,000 a year with that customer.
Okay, folks, we're out of time. I noticed that there are a couple of questions that have been typed in. Jack, do you want to take a fast shot at them and then close it up?
Let me try and answer. Yeah, let me just try and answer this real quick here. 1 second. Let me scroll up. We're really looking at B2B business. We're not looking for the direct-to-consumer. It's chains, it's fleets of vehicles, it's business signs, it's dealing strictly B2B. Benefits, this isn't a benefits-heavy industry, so you don't need to front-end load a P&L statement with benefits. They're not coming expecting it. You may add benefits over time to retain the employees, but not to acquire the employees. Many sign rules may just give them a little extra money and let them take care of their own health insurance and other things. I think those are the only two I see here, Ken. So,
yeah. Go ahead, Jack.
Thanks to the panel. Thanks to the panel for Larry and Helen and Scott. Thank you for coming. We know you guys are busy. We appreciate your willingness to help. For those of you on the call, get back to Ken, Dan, or myself and have more conversation. Next Discovery Day is Friday, June 21st. The following one is Friday, July 19th. We'll have another webinar just like this on Wednesday, June 26th, and a different panel of owners. So hope that has been helpful to everybody, and have a great day. Look forward to talking to you more.
Bye-bye, everybody.